It's the Daylight Midnight Show.
Hello and welcome. Now I'm going to start this week the way I should have ended last week's show, which is by giving you the answer to that quiz question. I did a Guess the Song quiz last week based on a particular story of something that had happened to me. I'm not going to tell you the story again. I'm just going to direct you to last week's show if you didn't watch it, where I told a story about this guy bopping along in his car, and I said the song he was bopping along to was very unusual. And I said, try and guess what it is, and then I forgot to reveal it at the end. The answer was Every Breath You Take by the Police. So if you got the answer right, award yourself a prize. I must also apologise for this. Under the dictates of last week's facial hair follicle flip around, whatever we're calling it, I was supposed to be clean shaven. Work. I know it's a bad excuse, but I've got to grow this a bit for work at the moment, so we've had to park that one. But I will be clean shaven as soon as I possibly can to make up for what I did last week with the Rubik's Cube. So moving into this week's show then, we're going to do the notes from the phone that I was going to do last week. Before we get to that though, let's do our snake of the week. Now, every week I'm trying to draw a snake, and I think for the first time since we started this series, I think you can see an improvement. I mean, this isn't great. It's not very lifelike, but you can see what I'm trying to do, I think. That I was going for that kind of cobra look. This bit here went horribly wrong, so I just scribbled it out because I thought I'm only going to do this once, I'm not going to try and start again. I think the fact that I didn't try and colour it in has had a good effect as well. And I think there's kind of like a bit of personality in the face. It might look more like a velociraptor from Jurassic World than a cobra, but and I also know that they don't have fangs. I just got a bit distracted. Maybe it's a vampire cobra. So yeah, I'm quite pleased with that one. I think progress has been made. When I finished it, I hated it and wanted to rip it up and throw it in the bin. But on reflection, looking back at it, when I was getting ready to record the show today, I thought, that's not a bad effort, Gregory. You're showing a little bit of improvement there, and I will proudly, for once, put that on the door of delights, and hopefully you'll see another improvement next week. I think the thing is, I took a bit of time with it. You might know the World Cup is on at the moment, so I sat with the World Cup match on and took my time. I used a thin-nibbed pen as well because I was thinking it might be the kind of medium I'm trying to work with that's holding me back. When I'm using just like a biro and then big, thick felt tips, I don't feel like I've got any control of what I'm drawing, so I might go out and buy some decent pencils or some of those proper drawing pens to try and do better ones, because I am kind of getting into this now, and now I can see a little bit of an improvement. It's inspiring me to try and get better next week as well. So that guy's going to sit up there until next week's show. So yeah, I didn't leave my phone anywhere this week. That's not strictly true. I did leave my phone somewhere, but not today. So we can go through the notes that I made last week. So do this as a quiz. Yeah, I did that. That's the one about every breath you take. More forks than sense I've written down. Again, I'm going to save that. I keep teasing this story, but I've got like 17 forks and only 2 knives, and I'm going to explain why. But I'm going to save that story for another time, partly because it involves a confession about accidental, illegal behaviour that I'm not sure if I'm comfortable doing yet. There's a thought that why is there always something left when you empty the washing up bowl? Oh yeah, very much a first world problem, but one of those little things that can annoy you, so I say it to you out loud so it gets it out of my head. I'm just going through this run at the moment where I wash up. I always tend to overdo the suds. Too much liquid goes in, so I get a very frothy thing. I will finish. I will look around the entire flat for any more dirty washing. I will have my hand in the bottom of the bowl. There's nothing. The second I empty the water out of the bowl, I'll find that there was a knife in the bottom that I hadn't realised, or there's a mug sitting behind a curtain, something like that. And those things vex me. So I've said it now. That gets it out. And bumping into someone in the corner. I'll save that one for next week. Oh yeah, this one. Again, you know, last week's show showed that I can be quite forgetful. I'd left my phone somewhere, even though I needed it for the show. And then I set up the quiz question and I forgot to give you the answer. And I also forgot to do the Rubik's Cube thing, which ended up being irrelevant anyway, because I've got to let my beard grow for a while. But another example of that, of how my brain is working at the moment, I arranged to meet up with a couple of friends of mine last week. That I used to work with. We haven't worked together for about 10 years, but we kept in touch, and we'll meet up a couple of times a year and have a proper catch-up, which is really, really nice. We'll go and have a meal. Not only did I forget that I'd arranged to meet them, but I then arranged to meet somebody else on the same night at the same place that I had arranged to meet my friends. So they sat there for half an hour waiting for me to arrive. I didn't arrive. I normally don't miss things like that, so they started to worry. And the next thing that happened is I turned up with another group of people to sit and have a meal with them. And it wasn't deliberate, I assure you, but that's just the way my brain doesn't seem to be working properly at the moment. So Chris and Emma, I apologise on the night. I apologise again, and I won't forget the meeting we've got at the end of next month. I promise, he said, knowing he probably can't promise it. So we'll leave it there for now. That's a little catch up of what's been going on in my life, some weird news from my weird life, and the fork story I'll get into next week. So, we get round to the bit you've probably been waiting for, which is the horrors of the colander of culinary chance. Now, last week I went through the absolute terror of eating a seafood stick, and then it came out again. So, quick recap in case you haven't watched this before. I'm randomly picking three items of food that I have to eat together in the next week's show, and crab sticks came out again. So I've pre-prepared it this week, and I think I've set the camera up so you can see this clearly. So we got crackers, crab sticks, pickled onion. So what I've got here is a sea salt and black pepper cracker, a seafood stick that isn't the size of the last one, because I bought a jumbo one last time and it was horrendous in my mouth, so I've got the smaller one, and a pickled onion as well. So just to show you that I have prepared that. This is a sweet silver skin onion, which was the only ones I could get. So it's not one of the really bitter ones and vinegary ones, it's a sweeter one. And I haven't had pickled onions for ages. So here we go then. In for a penny, in for a pound. And there's going to be a simple yes or no at the end. Does this work as a culinary treat or doesn't it? Crackers, crab sticks, pickled onion. Oh, I have to swallow it or it doesn't count. It's the texture of the seafood stick. It's not so much the taste, it's the chewiness in my mouth that is really, really unpleasant for me. And there aren't many foods that I can't handle, but I've got parts of my stomach coming up to here, parts of my chest in my throat's trying to close. I have to swallow it or it doesn't count. But I'm telling you right now, this is a definite no. I think a more vinegary onion might have been better than the sweet one, but the saltiness of the crackers is sort of hiding some of the flavour of the crab stick. But have you ever been in a situation where you're trying to swallow something and your body is just going, I'm staying true to the rules. Oh, my mouth is so dry. We can do this. I'm a grown man. I've been through worse experiences in my life. I can swallow a little bit of seafood stick. Okay, it's gone. I don't know if you've noticed, but I've got like a cold sweat on my forehead from that. Okay, let's move on from that horror then, by setting up next week's colander of culinary chance. So there's 32 different food items on here, one of which is crab stick. Please God, it can't come out 3 times in a row, can it? The other one in there I'm really not looking forward to is tinned tuna, but what we do is we put it all in there, we should rattle it around in the colander. I pick out 3, and those 3 things I have to eat together next week. Sorry, I saw that one which doesn't count. So next week it will be, ingredient 1 will be frozen peas, and they have to be frozen when I eat them. Alongside that we have whatever is this one, which is, oh no, fish paste. I can't even remember putting that one in there. Okay, frozen peas, fish paste, and finally ingredient number 3 will be a wine gum. Wow, that is going to be a very odd combination next week. So frozen peas, and they have to be frozen, wine gum and fish paste. I hate the fact that I have to buy this stuff now. I'm now going to have seafood sticks and fish paste in my house. Okay, that will be on next week's show, when I'll also finally tell you the story about my accidental illegal behaviour that involves me acquiring forks from a very, very expensive eatery, and another snake, and anything else I think of in the meantime. I'll see you next week. Have a great 7 days.